The Albanese Labor government's defence net zero strategy. Shadow Defence Minister Andrew Hastie summed it up on this show on Monday.
Well, they're releasing a net zero strategy, which is insane in my opinion, because we need to be focused on delivering industrial outcomes that will strengthen our defence force and give us supply chain security in the event of a crisis or a conflict.
Insane pretty much sums it up. Defence requires machinery, powerful equipment. They need to use energy, and the idea that we can all do this adequately and arm ourselves, defend this nation while making defence a net zero operation, it's plainly nuts. And it's a classic example of how this climate nonsense has gone way too far. It's illogical, it's impractical. Let me bring in a veteran and Liberal MP, Keith Wolahan, joining us live from Melbourne. Thanks for joining us, Keith. First up, had you noticed this announcement? They seemed to slip it out a couple of weeks ago and not make too much of a fuss about it. They might be embarrassed of their own strategy.
Full credit to you. You brought it to my attention, and then I looked further. I read the document, and I'm really quite worried about it. And Andrew Hastie is absolutely right. One of the things that is core to a defence force is a clear mission. And our mission is about establishing a strong foothold, not reducing our footprint. And so this compromises the focus of the ADF. At a time when we're short 5,000 full-time people, have one submarine in the water, and we've seen in Senate estimates that our border force security has 20% reduced air hours and 16% reduced maritime hours. Our defence force is weak at the moment, and this is going to add layers of complexity and compromise capability. It's insane, and Andrew was right to call it that.
Yeah, I mean, every person hour, I suppose I should say, that's spent on devising this stuff, and every dollar wasted on it is money that could be helping to us get the submarine project back on track and fill these other gaps. And as you say, recruit the people and maintain the personnel that we need. They've got huge problems in that area of defence, yet they're talking here about trialling electric bushmasters and trying to run some of our aircraft on biofuels. I mean, what madness are they doing, wasting our money on these priorities?
And they're doing it at a time of peace, relative peace, where we have clear trading routes and supply lines. They have to work in times of conflict where we need redundancy. And if that was the focus, I could understand, Chris. If we were saying, let's have a fleet of EV bushmasters if there's some blockage to our fuel supply, that makes sense, but that's not the purpose here. And that gets back to the mission. When you compromise the mission, you compromise our national security.
What chance do you think that the People's Liberation Army of China will be going to net zero?
Well, I think it's a unique thing that we're doing. And you know, we don't have the luxury of making decisions like that on our own. We have to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward. And I'm worried, Chris, that we're going to lose capability, human capability. Right now, there are young junior men and women who are in uniform who are going to be taken off frontline capabilities to not only draft forms like this, but then to fill them in. There's enough red tape in the ADF. We don't need to add this when every training activity will have a matrix that you have to fit in on the carbon footprint. It will be madness, and it will push people out of the ADF.
Well, this is the point too, as I've spoken to other vets. It's just insulting. It undermines their own morale because they want to be part of an organisation that is looking to defend the nation, that being the best it can at doing that job. And this is at best a distraction, if not something that undermines that whole project. Just on this, though, it does underscore the need for nuclear energy, because you could power Defence Force bases and all the things they can do with electricity with a powerful, reliable form of clean energy.
Well, that's the irony in all of this. Through AUKUS, there's one component of defence will have that capability, and it will be floating at sea. So to not have the use of that on land is crazy and is insane. And we keep shaking our heads at stuff like this, Chris, but Australians can't afford this. We need a serious government who's going to look at these problems in an adult way. And this project is a joke, to be frank.
Spot on, Keith. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. Keith Wolahan there, a veteran and also a Liberal MP.